Speaking of the Packers, 23-20 over the Los Angeles Chargers. Packers move to 4-6. Chargers fall to 4-6. Man, what a game! It was quite the witching hour yesterday. There was a lot of these 1 o'clock games coming to a head all at the same time. This one was back and forth in the fourth quarter. The Chargers scored a touchdown to go up with 5:29 left. In the fourth, they go up 20-16. But Jordan Love comes back, hits Romeo Doubs for the 24-yard touchdown. It was a game winner with 2:38 left in the fourth. Of course, that leaves plenty of time for the Chargers to make the comeback. But, man, they could not get out of their own way in this game. I tried to start listing all the Chargers' mistakes. I didn't get to all of them.
No.
But there was a lot of mistakes that weren't just, oh, there was a drop in the flat. These were like big swings here, massive swing type of mistakes that the Chargers made.
Yeah, game-changing. I mean, Keenan Allen drops just a walk-in touchdown. That
was on the list. Yep.
In one side of the field, the announcer was blaming the sun. On one side of the field, they were like right at the tail end of the shadows, and that was where Keenan Allen drops that pass. There was another drop earlier in the same kind of area. I don't know if the sun was a factor, but it certainly was. You could see how that would be an issue given where the shadows were and where the sun was and where they were looking when those passes arrived. Maybe. Is
that always the case in Green Bay, by the way? Because there's certain stadiums, like a certain time of year, you're used to seeing this certain sun pattern that might be in play. Dallas, of course, has it. New England has that in October and certain parts of October. I don't remember the sun being an issue in Green Bay, maybe because it's always cloudy. But I don't remember, the sun field in Green Bay in mid-November.
No, but I think it makes sense in terms of the time of day, late setting sun during the sort of wintry months. It's going to be low and in your eyes. Like if you've ever driven, in those days where the sun is like right in front of you, it's right there. Like there's no way around it. So if that's somewhere where the ball is arriving, I get it. It may or may not have been a thing. Either way, like Keenan Allen drops just an absolutely disaster. It hits him in the chest, right? And there's nobody near him. It's a touchdown if he catches that. Quentin Johnston went full Troy Williamson late in the game. Just another well-thrown Justin Herbert pass, an open Quentin Johnston, just disastrous, drops it. So these are like game-changing drops by Chargers receivers, and those were far from the only mistakes they had.
Yeah. So, I think the worst one was Austin Eckler fumbling early fourth quarter at the 2-yard line.
After falling over, right?
Yeah.
Just like falls over, gets up, and then fumbles it away.
So they had that. So they fumble it at the 2-yard line early fourth quarter. Early in the game, they had a 4th and 4, wide open over the middle of the field that was dropped, wide open. The Keenan Allen drop at the goal line on 3rd and 7 in the third quarter. Another kind of drop in the end zone.
He had 3 drops in this game.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen.
And he's still awesome. He was still awesome in this game.
And he's been great this season. Like he's been their only real primary source because receivers have been going down. It's been Keenan Allen, nothing else. This was just a bad Keenan Allen game, even with 100 yards.
And the Quentin Johnston one was probably, 40 yards plus.
Yeah.
He probably could have caught it and taken it to the house, but let's just give them, it was a 33-yard pass. Let's give them 40 yards on that.
Right.
On a game-winning drive opportunity.
Yeah.
I just did some quick math. We had 6 drops for the Chargers. If they just catch those 6 passes, we're looking at Justin Herbert going 27 of 36 for 337. Give him 3 touchdowns. No picks with all those drops. It just paints a picture of what type of stat line Herbert would have put together if the Chargers just caught the ball, and it would have been even better, to be honest. I'm not giving him any yak there. So. Nothing against the Packers here. We'll get to them in a second, but this was self-inflicted Chargers errors that were just horrendous, and it really might be the beginning of the end now officially for Brandon Staley.
Yeah,
it wasn't just this; it was the press conference after.
Yeah, he had a very testy encounter with a reporter after the game, where somebody was asking again, from the sounds of it, "Are you going to be giving up play calling duties on the defense?" And he very pointedly said, "I will be calling the defense for all time here. Like, stop asking that question. I will always be calling the defense here."
They must ask every week.
Yeah, right. Which begs some follow-up questions like, will you be calling it better? Like the defense has been terrible. is that going to change? Is the point we're driving at here, right? Like the reason we ask this week on week on week is because it doesn't get any better. So what is going to change if you're not changing? Like that's the point we're asking here. The other thing in this game was just injuries everywhere. Joey Bosa goes down again in what looked like a pretty bad injury for him.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones got folded up on and looked like a bad knee injury for him. His replacement, Emmanuel Wilson, goes down almost immediately after that as well. Like, guys were just dropping everywhere.
The leading rushers in this game, because of that Aaron Jones injury, it was Jaden Reed for the Packers. The wide receiver, of course, had a 32-yard end around to kick off the scoring for the Packers. But he led the Packers with 46 rushing yards. And then Justin Herbert led the Chargers with 73 rushing yards. I thought it was another game where Jordan Love played pretty well overall. Some nice passes down the field. Again, I think from a Green Bay perspective, you have Dobbs with that game-winning touchdown. You have the explosiveness of Jaden Reed. You have Dontavian Wicks, who looks like just doesn't get tackled sometimes like he did earlier in the year. It's just tough to tackle. Ends up with 91 yards on 3 catches. Like every now and again, you're looking at Luke Musgrave making some plays. The young receivers. And Christian Watson, who, the best thing he does maybe runs, the over route. Run the over route, man. Run it faster than anybody. Get open in the high red zone. Did that for a touchdown. All those playmakers who are young and inexperienced, maybe starting to come together these last few weeks here.
Yeah, I still feel like we're giving, and by we I mean the Packers, are giving Christian Watson a little bit too much credit, in terms of how much they're giving him playing time. Like, I think now other players are showing playmaking skills that are sort of demanding or requesting a bigger role in the offense. Like Dontavian Wicks has been arguably their best receiver in the last month or so and got 14 passing snaps in this game. Christian Watson has done nothing all season and got 36 passing snaps, which led the team. That, to me, if you're not going to reverse that, it should be closer, right? Dontavian Wicks needs more playing time. On the other hand, Christian Watson isn't justifying his playing time. Let's maybe kill two birds with one stone and start changing that a bit.
I was going to ask you during the Jonathan Mingo conversation a while back too, when you have a receiver that I think is this big play threat, right? Like if you just had Jonathan Mingo run the deep route tree,
yeah,
I think he'd have more success, right? I think you'd be able to find a big play or two per game. I think Watson is similar. Do you take those guys and say they're not polished route runners, they're not good at this other stuff, but it's best for us to develop them?
Yeah,
if they hit, right, the upside is there. So giving Watson these reps here in a season where you're not going to make the playoffs, most likely.
Yeah, like I don't think the Panthers are helping Mingo in the same way they're not helping Bryce Young right now. Like he's not being put in a particularly good position to succeed, in addition to seemingly being at the source of every mistake that happens on the offense. Like again, with that offense, everything is bad. I don't know that the Packers are necessarily doing the same thing with Christian Watson. I just think, like, as you said, the best thing he does is run like a deep over route, right? That's not a guy that plays every snap of the offense, right? If that's what we're talking about as a receiver, that's a guy that only needs to play a third of the snaps on offense while somebody else handles the heavy lifting of the rest of the route tree, and then we can put you in and run your deep over and we'll get you a touchdown.
But he'll always have that, right? He'll have that speed. You're hoping you're going to be able to polish up the route running a little bit, have him get open at the intermediate level and learn some nuances of the position. To me, that's my question, right? You play the long game with this guy that you already know he could be the Khalif Raymond. You already know he could be the deep threat.
I just think for a few weeks now, we have seen this dynamic in this receiving core that suggests we need to change the allocation of playing time a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, I was impressed by, Love leads the comeback. I think he's played a little cleaner these last couple weeks, coming off his best little stretch here as a starter. Something encouraging, maybe to build upon here going into Thanksgiving, their game against the Lions. Joey Bosa getting hurt early, not great for the Chargers. Also, they moved the player to a new role, the star position. They wanted him in and around the action. He was, blowing up runs again, number 3 on the Chargers. If you guys aren't, privy to who the player is, But he was basically playing slot corner, whether it was against Luke Musgrave or against, slot receivers. So slightly different role here for number 3 on the Chargers, who remains, still good, but not having his best season this year. They're going to end up moving on from Staley, have all these star players again next year, and I'm going to buy in once again because there's a new coach. I'm going to buy in again.
Okay. I mean, at some point, it feels like it will be right. Like, there are pieces there. Every week we look at this defense, and we're like, how is it this bad?
Yeah.
Like, it should be better, and they have a defensive coach. Like, running the scheme that is like the meta scheme at the moment in the NFL. Like, why is this not a better team?